All right, good morning, everybody. Got a few minutes to do some work on my color pencil piece this morning before I gotta leave and go to work. So I am continuing this color pencil picture of Froot Loops using color pencils, and I've got my coffee. And if you hear my dog's nails clicking on the floor, I apologize. It's super annoying, drives me absolutely nuts. Even though I do trim them on a regular basis. But anyways, make sure that the stream is good, that everything's sort of in focus. I think we are good to go. Okay. So I think I'm gonna continue to work on the purple one today. I don't have any green color pencils out right now, and I kind of just want to make the best use of my time before I have to leave. So I will just continue working on putting in more texture and following along with my reference photo, which I am working from my iPad. So anyways, how is everybody's day going? It's morning time here, and just trying to get into the groove of art, which I can never seem to, my mind never seems to leave thinking about art. Even when I'm not coloring, I'm always thinking about art. It's like an obsession. But I've got a lesson this morning that I'm going to, and we are going to be going over some more drawing in perspective drawing. So I'm going to take my student and we're going to go on a little field trip and draw some of the buildings that are going to be close by, and we're going to work in 2-point perspective today. Perspective drawing is very hard for me, especially to teach it. But you know, as an art teacher, you just gotta kind of do your best. A lot of times I feel like I've definitely grown as an art teacher just because my students will ask me on how to draw certain things or learn about certain things that I'm not too familiar with. So then that drives me to go and learn it for them and then, you know, teach them what I found out. So I like it, you know, it helps me become a better artist for sure. But sometimes it is very challenging because I sometimes feel like I fail my students a little bit because I don't know everything. And I mean, that's true of really any art teacher. But gosh, I'm trying to think how I would have been doing this before YouTube. Like YouTube and videos on watching, you know, how-to videos, techniques and stuff on art. It's really so easy now to just have all this information at your fingertips. So right now I'm just adding in some of the lighter valued texture bits. I guess that's a technical term. And I'm trying to follow along with the values of them. So right into this area where it's sort of deep in shadow, I'm using, this is Mars Violet. Still following along with the pattern that I see. If you didn't see my last coffee and art, color pencil and coffee video, I kind of went into a little bit more detail about how I'm doing the texture. So feel free to go back and watch that. It's under the live stream tab. I tend to do a lot of this texture with the white, even though a lot of this is not white. It's, you know, light gray or light purple, grayish purple, something like that. But this is a very opaque pencil. This is the Derwent Chinese White. and I can easily just go on top of this with the appropriate color and tint the white marks that I'm making. So this just helps me to see the pattern of the texture that I'm creating. But anyway, so I'm gonna go teach today, and I've only got one lesson that I've got to do this morning. So the rest of my day, I am planning on working on another project. I'm gonna do a little bit of gouache painting, and maybe if I am feeling up to doing some more art after that, I'm going to probably going to try and work on this, or I have a painting behind me that is waiting for me to start putting my design on. So right now I've got, like, we'll say 2 coats of color pencil. I mean, I don't count the layers. I just go by how it looks. And so at this point, the tooth of the paper is nicely covered. You know, I still have a lot of tooth left, but I don't see the white of the paper coming through anymore. So at that point, I'm starting to put in a lot more detail. So I'm looking at areas where there are sharp lines or soft lines, especially around some of these little crunchy bits where there's like little holes. You get sort of these sharp lines around the edges. And there's my dog ticky-tacking around the floor. We have a 14-year-old black lab. Her name is Pebbles. She's an old girl. Still with us. Huh, baby? Yep, you're a good girl. She is the perfect dog. Never did a bad thing in her life. So for some of the reflected highlights, sort of on this side, so that the light is coming from this direction, but on the other side you would have, you know, some backsplash, some reflected highlights. I'm going to put in some of the teal color of the background, and that's going to help kind of tie it together as well. So I just need to find the right color. That's pretty close. Let's see. Let's get a little scratch paper and it's a little more green. I don't think I have a pencil that matches exactly, but definitely going for close. Let's see. I've got these 2 colors. So that's going to be too dark and too light. I'm going to keep this one out. That one is not too bad. It's the right hue, just not the right value. So I think I've got one in the polychromos that I can use. Well, we'll just have to mix and match. It's the best that I can do. So this one's the higher value. It's okay if it's a little bit off. So I'm doing just basically the same thing I was doing with the white, just adding in little tiny areas of lighter value, just using this color to reflect more of the background. This edge right here is really sharp, or more in focus, I guess you could say. I'm trying to keep it kind of jagged. Now down here I do want it to be a little bit more green because we have some reflected light coming off of the Froot Loop underneath it, which is green, so it's going to be a little bit more green leaning. Anytime you want to play around with some colors in your paintings or drawings, look into reflected light with different colors. So like if you have a blue object sitting next to a red object, they're going to share color together because light rays are bouncing back and forth between the two. So it's always kind of a good rule of thumb to add in a little bit of its neighbor's color onto that object where it's facing each other, and that kind of brings it a little bit more of a realistic feel. All right, where was I? And get some right around the edges here where I still see a little bit of the paper. It's kind of where the gouache ended right before the design of the, or the line drawing of the Froot Loop bit is. Let's see. All right, I'm going to go back to the white, and I'm going to continue on with just putting in some more areas of lighter value. So you definitely want to keep looking at your reference when you're doing this. You want to get in the same ballpark as to where some of these shapes of highlights are. So even though they're so small, I'm looking for blobs in kind of clusters and just trying my best to, you know, copy it, to mimic it. And you also want to follow where the areas of value are and the form. So like along the side, you wouldn't really want to put any highlights. Like if I put a white highlight down here, that's way too bright. It's not gonna, that's not accurate. So I'll just go over that. But you get the idea. You want to keep the highlights where they belong, midtones where they belong, and so on and so forth. So the highlights along the side, which I do see some, they're more grayed out. You're definitely not as high of a value as white. And you also kind of want to look at the layer that you're coloring on. There's a lot of little things happening in there already. So you kind of want to play off of that. So if I zoom in, you can see, you know, some washes of different colors. You know, like there's some dark purples here, and there's some, you know, lighter purples, almost kind of like just a blotchy, you know, sort of, gosh, I don't even know, I don't want to say cloudy, but, you know, there's just a lot of variety. So you want to sort of play along with that texture, like this little dark spot right there, that real tiny one. You know, I don't want to put any highlights on top of that. I want to try and save that because that will help me to create some of those darker values that are real small. So you do sort of want to think about what you're coloring on as well. So like there's a dark spot over here, and I want to keep it. So I'm trying to find areas where it's a little bit lighter and kind of scribble in some of that white there. Now, in a perfect world, you're not going to be perfect at that, you know. So if it goes over, that's okay. And you do want to kind of go over some of the darker areas because you just want to get some overlapping values and textures. Just, you don't want to kill it all. So we got some hard edges on the left side as well. I'm going to sharpen my pencil. A nice sharp pencil will get you nice, really crisp lines. Okay, so I've got plenty of white on there. Now I just need to tint it to a different color. I'm gonna go with my polychromos because they're a little bit of a thinner consistency. So I guess you could relate it to more of a, I don't want to say tinting strength. I don't know if these have any more pigment punch than the others, but they're a little bit, I think they're a little bit more translucent. So that'll be better to tint this. Now I just need to find the right color. And I want something on the lines of a lavender, which there is none in the polychromos set. There's some pinks, there's some medium purples. That's going to be too dark. I'm going to end up just covering over. Yeah, that's too dark. Okay, so we're not going to use the polychromos. We're going to have to use something else. What do I have? This one is ultramarine pink. I think that's going to be probably my lightest color. I'm just going to overlap the white areas with this one. It is bringing down the value. I don't know if it's going to be a little too much, but I can always sandwich this pencil with the white and just keep going back and forth. I could still see the white underneath, so I think it's going to be okay. I didn't bring down the value too much, but we'll just go over all the areas where I put the white with this one, and we will reassess and see what we need to do next. Something so relaxing about color pencils. Just kind of zone out, drink your coffee, and just color. I've got probably another 10 minutes or so, and then I gotta jump off of here and go teach a lesson. I'm gonna sharpen my pencil again. Having a sharp pencil is going to help kind of get into the tooth of the paper, and you'll get a better application of pencil. So I had a thought this morning. I was thinking about art, as I usually do, and a friend of mine and I started a plein air painting group, or just an art group in general for our area that we live in. And I was just trying to think of something to post today. And I was thinking, we're trying to find out, when does everybody want to meet? Where do you want to go paint or draw? What are some interesting locations? And I want to go to the zoo. I haven't been to the zoo in a long time. It's finally nice outside. It's not cold anymore. And I want to go draw some animals. I stink at drawing animals, but, how do you get better? You go and observe and go practice. And so I was thinking I might put something out on our little drawing group, and then also invite my students to come out for a day of drawing at the zoo. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. So that is my little brainchild this morning, and I'm pretty excited about it because I love going to the zoo, and I always just imagine myself going to draw at the zoo, which I've tried in the past, and it's kind of hard because you get so distracted by just having fun watching the animals. So I'm going to try my best to be a good group leader, teacher, and see if we can actually make some decent drawings. Okay, So, oh, let me get this guy right down here. He needs to be darker anyway. All right, so I've got the lavender kind of covered over the white. Now everything does look a little bit more blurry, so I've got to start adding in some darks again. So it's definitely, it's always a back and forth kind of dance here with color pencils when you're layering. You know, you're going to end up having to add back in some more highlights, back in with some midtones. So like right here, there are some darker, oh, that's wrong color. Let's go with this deep rose. Start to reclaim some of these dark areas. And that's even darker still. Let's try the, let's go with our nightshade. Might be a little too dark, but when I go in to soften it with a little bit of solvent, it should probably lighten up a little bit. We'll see. We're not committed to it. This is just too red. Let's do, I need something a little bit more gray, darker and gray. Get some of these areas and kind of desaturate that color, bring the intensity down a little bit. Start putting in some more irregular shapes. Try to make this look kind of crusty. All right, well that is about all I have time for today, y'all. And yeah, go back and watch the other video. I'll probably jump on here another time this week if I've got some extra time, maybe tomorrow afternoon if I feel like it. Other than that, I will see you in the next one. Have a good day.